Hi everyone, I'm Chris Jenica. This video is about taxation paper of ACCA. Being an Indian student, you have to study UK variant taxation. So this is the skills level paper of ACCA. Before starting with, imagine yourself to be in UK so that you don't have any confusions with the tax rates of India and UK tax systems. Okay, so because as Indian students normally tend to have some kind of a knowledge of basic tax rules from India, right? So avoid these kind of confusions before appearing for this paper. Now, in this video, I'll be explaining about the introduction to UK tax system. What are the different types of taxes, the purpose of tax year and a financial year, and so on. Okay, so getting started, what is basically tax? Tax is a mandatory fee or a financial charge that is being levied by the government on the individuals or an organization to collect revenue. So this revenue will be in the form of funds which can be used for public expenditures for the country. This is in order to provide better facilities and infrastructure to the country, right? Now, what is the purpose of this tax? Let me share the screen. So purpose of tax is nothing but what are the factors that actually influence the government's tax policies. So there are three different factors that has some kind of an influence on UK government's tax policy. Okay, so first one is economic factors. Economic factors are normally to encourage or and discourage certain types of activities. For example, the charitable donations, individual savings account, which actually encourages you to save more rather than spend on some expenditures, and pension contributions. So these are certain activities where government actually provides some kind of tax incentives and tax reliefs in order to encourage you to make some investment on these. Then there are also some capital allowances that are being provided if you're going to invest in plant and machinery. So this is basically to encourage the people in order to involve in these kind of activities. Then there are other products or certain activities like smoking and alcohol, consumption of alcohol, where there is more levy of certain duties. If you have to pay more tax on this actually discourages you from using those products. Thus, what is this economic factor all about? If you're going to pay a higher tax, then you will normally tend to use that product less. That's why you are being levied more duty on smoking and alcohol. So, to discourage you from using those products. Then, if you are given a lot of tax relief or incentives, you tend to involve yourself more in those activities. This is basically to encourage you to involve or use those things and on a higher scale. So these are the economic factors. Social factors is nothing but a redistribution of your income and wealth. So this basically involves direct tax, indirect tax, and progressive tax. Direct tax is nothing but the tax that is payable on the income. So this can be on the individual income or the corporate income. And indirect tax, and this one is normally targeted only to those who actually earn an income and who have those resources. Indirect tax is a tax that has been levied on consumption of a service or purchase of a product. So this will be normally a VAT, value added tax. As we have in India, we have a goods and service tax that is payable. So as per the UK system, it's going to be value added tax. This will be payable on purchase of the products or services. For example, this is basically to discourage you from spending more on certain consumption of products. For example, the UK does not charge higher value added tax on all the products. If you take certain essential goods like foods and other essential items, there are even lower rates or even nil rates because that is mandatory and that is actually needed for your living. So value added tax is not higher for all the products, but to discourage certain products, you pay a higher tax. This is actually an indirect tax. Progressive tax is where the proportion of income tax paid raises when your income or your capital gain raises. So this is targeted to those only who can afford to pay them. So these are the economic factors and social factors. Then comes your environmental factors. This environmental factors is normally uh, based on the companies which have some influence on the environment as a result of their process. For example, climate change levy. So these are just examples of certain environmental factors. And landfill tax. So if the company is going to have some consumption of energy, so this will be raised on businesses in proportion to their consumption of energy. The purpose of this is because to reduce the consumption of energy. Okay, so this is the claim purpose why they actually levy such a climate change charge. Then you have landfill tax. This will be charged on operators of landfill sites where there is tons of rubbish and waste. So, in order to encourage them to recycle this, certain landfill taxes will be applicable, which the company has to pay. So, these are the factors which actually has some kind of an influence on the tax policies of UK. Then, going forward, we will be looking at the different types of taxes as per UK system. First of all, you have to distinguish between the revenue tax and a capital tax. Revenue tax is the tax payable on income, and capital tax is the tax payable on capital gains and wealth. Okay, so normally income tax is the levy or tax payable on the individual incomes. So this is normally a revenue tax. You can distinguish it as a revenue tax. And as already said, this is a direct tax. Then comes your corporation tax. This is the tax payable by the companies or organizations on their revenue. And national insurance, this is the tax contribution by individuals and the corporations in UK. So the employers and employees contribute towards this national insurance contributions. Employees normally collect this through payroll deductions. Okay. So these are all direct taxes and as well as a revenue tax. Then comes in your capital gains tax. This is normally owed on the profits of sale from investments. Okay, so if you're going to sell your investments and you're going to get some profit, certain capital gains tax are applicable on those profits. Then inheritance tax. If you're going to get some properties inherited from a deceased person, then you will have to pay a tax called inheritance tax on the properties that you have inherited, right? These are all capital tax as well as a direct tax. Then VAT is an indirect tax that we already discussed based on the social factors. This is neither a revenue tax nor a capital tax. Okay, so these are the different types of taxes you need to know about while studying UK tax system. Clear? Then, who actually governs this tax systems in UK and what is the overall structure? And what if the taxpayer has some kind of issues with the rules or decisions of the person or the body concerning has some kind of an influence over the tax system. So HMRC is the body which actually governs the tax system in UK. This is called His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. So this is the full form of HMRC. So HM Treasury is His Majesty's Treasury. This is the body that actually imposes and collects tax in UK. And HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, is responsible for any kind of administrative functions for collection of taxes. So those people who are involved in this are called officers of revenue and customs. Now, what if this HMRC has some kind of investigation that has to be carried on, some kind of taxpayers, then There comes in Crown Prosecution Services. So if HMRC has some kind of a problem or issue where it requests for an investigation on the taxpayer, then Crown Prosecution Service will investigate and proceed with the criminal proceedings in England and Wales. Now, they have come to a decision based on these investigations. Now, what if the taxpayer has some kind of they are agreed by the actions of HMRC? Then what are the solution they have? So they can file a appeal against the HMRC. Now, first, if the taxpayer has an appeal on the direct tax, they have to file the appeal with HMRC first. There will be an internal review carried out by the review officers in HMRC regarding the appeal, and certain decisions will come out as a result. And if the taxpayer is not satisfied with the decisions of the internal review officers of HMRC, they can go to the tax tribunal. Tribunal is nothing but a court which actually gives some kind of judgments for the tax related issues. Now, this tax tribunal actually has two tiers, first tier and a upper tier. If the appeal is related to direct tax, the taxpayer has to go to the HMRC first. HMRC will appoint an internal review officer who will look into the problem, and then certain decisions will be taken. If the taxpayer is not satisfied with the solution of the internal officer of HMRC, they can take forward this appeal to the tax tribunal first tier. So this is where all most of the cases are looked into. And what if it's the appeal is going to be related to indirect tax? So if the appeal by the taxpayer is related to indirect tax, it can be directly appealed into the first tier of tax tribunal. So what is the purpose of upper tier then? This will be related to most complex cases. If there are more complex cases, or if the taxpayer is not satisfied even with the decisions of first tier of tax tribunal, the case will be taken forward to upper tier where the decisions will be taken. So this is tax tribunal and related to appeals. So this is the overall structure of tax system in UK. So HMRC is the body which actually governs the UK tax system, and for any kind of appeals there is tax tribunal, and for direct taxes it is first the internal review officer who will look into the problem under the HMRC, right? Now, what is a tax year and a financial year? Tax year will be normally UK will come out with a finance act yearly, every year. So this finance act will govern all the tax policies and rules for that particular year, tax year and a financial year. Tax year will be related to individual taxes, and financial year will be related to corporation tax. So for this ACCA exam, we will be learning Finance Act 2022. So every year, the tax legislation will come up with certain updates and other updates on rules. So that we will be following for the next year of exams. So this Finance Act 2022 will be applicable for tax exam till March 2024. Okay. Now, when does this tax year and financial year start? Tax year normally runs from April 6th April 2022 to 5th April 2023. So this is the year for which the individuals will file the tax returns and pay tax for. So it runs from 6 April 2022 to 5 April 2023. And the act governing this will be Finance Act 2022. And financial year will normally be from 1 April 2022 to 31st March 2023. So this is the financial year for which the corporates will pay tax for and under the Finance Act 2022. So hope you're clear with tax year and financial year. Then the other basic things you need to know about is tax avoidance and tax evasion. So what is the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion? Tax avoidance is normally a legal method in which you can reduce the liability or the amount of tax that you're going to pay. For example, in simple terms, you can take it as claiming as much as deductions possible so that you can pay lesser of tax. So this is in legal way in which you're going to reduce the tax liability. But tax evasion is where it's in illegal terms you're going to reduce the liability. For example, you're going to suppress your income or you're going to deliberately provide false information related to your income in order to reduce the liability of tax paid. So this is illegal and this is legally reducing your liability. So this is the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Hope this introduction to the UK tax system was clear. So I had given you certain brief description of what is UK tax, what is tax, what are the purposes of this tax, and what are the different types of tax you need to know before starting with this UK tax paper, and what is the difference between a tax year and a financial year. Then who actually governs the tax systems in UK, and then we finally ended up with the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. I hope this video was useful. So this was just a basic of the UK tax system. So before studying this complete paper of tax system, tax UK tax, you need to know this basic details. Okay. So please stay tuned to my channel, subscribe to my channel for more videos. And I'll be starting the taxation paper class for December 2023 exams from September. So you can enroll to my classes. The batch highlights and all the fee structure, everything will be provided in my website, www.etudsmart.com. You can reach out to me on my contact number or my mail ID for enrolling for the classes. You can also share this video with your friends so that they can also understand the basic things of tax. Thank you.